Okay, so let's talk about some of the features of the LX-7. The LX-7 comes standard with a pressurized cabin. We pressurize the cabin to 5 psi, which of course improves our ability to absorb oxygen, makes it more comfortable to ride in the airplane, and also makes it more safe. It gives us a larger margin to physiological problems such as hypoxia. So when we arrive at our destination, we're much more comfortable than we would be if we were either breathing oxygen or flying at lower flight levels without oxygen. And then the pressurized cabin gives us then an 8,000 foot cabin environment at 25,000 feet at the service ceiling of the aircraft. The LX-7 is equipped with retractable landing gear. The retractable landing gear allows the aircraft to assume a smaller form factor while it's in flight, which reduces drag and improves the efficiency of the airframe overall. It gives us the ability to cruise faster for a given power output of the engine, and as well as reducing drag so that we can use less fuel. And so getting from point A to point B quickly and efficiently is important to us, and so the retractable landing gear enables us to achieve that. The LX-7 is equipped standard with electronic climate control. The climate control system maintains a current set point that the pilot can select on the controller to keep the cabin at the same temperature even though the aircraft is traveling through different ambient conditions. So when you're up high, flying in the cooler flight levels, the climate control system will dial back the air conditioning and enable the occupants to stay warm. And then as you descend down into the warmer temperatures below, it will begin to turn the system on and keep you cooler inside the airplane. Another nice thing about that electronic climate control system is that we can plug in the system to ground power and turn it on while the aircraft is stationary on a ramp, so you can pre-cool the cabin using the electronic control system in the LX-7. One of the design goals of the LX-7 was to have long range, and accordingly the LX-7 comes standard with a fuel capacity of 180 US gallons. That enables us to go for quite long distances, but it also enables us to be flexible whether we want to carry the weight in fuel or whether we want to carry the weight in occupants. So the standard 180 gallon fuel capacity gives us that flexibility. It also gives us options. If we have that much fuel on board and the weather goes down at our destination, we can divert and we can go quite a long distance away from our original planned destination using that extra fuel capacity. Each LX-7 has a handcrafted premium materials interior, and that interior is designed to be very functional. It's designed to keep from intruding into the space where the occupants sit, but most importantly it's there to be beautiful and to make you feel like you're really truly flying in a work of art. And so the premium materials interior gives you that feeling of luxury as you're flying in the LX-7. The LX-7 utilizes LED lighting for both inside the aircraft and outside the aircraft. And the use of those LED lights is not restricted to just reading lights, but it's also the landing lights, the taxi lights, the position lights, and the reading lights inside the airplane, as well as lights for floor lighting and in the baggage area. The advantage of LED lighting is that it is bright, but it also is a minimal consumer of electrical current. So that minimal consumer of electrical current enables us to use more lighting without having to worry about overloading our buses. So you'll notice that there is plenty of light around the LX-7, both inside and outside, to really show the way when we're loading the airplane at night or when we're taxiing or operating the airplane. The fuel system in the LX-7 is a little bit unique. When we looked at the fuel system and we knew that we would have the ability to create a clean sheet design, we looked at some things about fuel systems that we just don't like as pilots. And one of those things is that we have to set a timer and constantly manipulate a fuel valve from left tank to right tank based on whenever the timer goes off. That seemed like a chore that we thought could be automated into the function of the airplane itself. And as a result, we have the fuel monitoring and balancing system in the LX-7, which automatically monitors the fuel level in each fuel tank and then modulates the output of those fuel tanks in order to maintain a balanced fuel condition across the airplane. So it's a very innovative system, and it reduces the pilot workload, and it is also a very nice system in that it allows you to enjoy flying a little bit more without having to constantly flip a valve back and forth. Safety was paramount in the design of the LX-7, and in order to provide the ultimate level of safety, the airplane is equipped with a BRS whole aircraft parachute system. So in a worst case scenario, the occupants can pull a handle, deploy a parachute, and the entire aircraft will come down under the canopy of that parachute. The LX-7 is equipped with AMSafe inflatable seatbelt restraint systems, which means for the front occupants, in the event of a frontal-like impact of the aircraft descending, those airbag seatbelts will deploy and prevent the front seat occupants from hitting their head on anything in the front of the airplane. It's been studied and shown that a lot of survivable accidents are not survivable because of injuries sustained just during that accident sequence that can be prevented by the airbag system, which we have in the LX-7. The LX-7 also has dual side stick controls, and that means everything that one side of the control system is doing, the other side can also do as well, which gives redundancy, including the switches on the top of the stick, which provide access to the trim system and other features of the airplane. So the dual side stick control adds another level of safety for the airplane. Emergency oxygen is not something that typically gets talked about too much in marketing material, but emergency oxygen is critical for a pressurized cabin. And also keeping the workload low for the pilot is a critical thing because there's something happening of an emergency nature causing that emergency oxygen to be needed in the first place. So the O-box system is the emergency oxygen in the LX-7. The masks are identical to what you'd find on an airliner. So in their use, everyone is going to recognize back to what they've heard in a pre-flight briefing on airline aircraft repeatedly, and they will know exactly what to do, thus minimizing the workload for the pilot so he can keep his attention focused on the issue at hand. The LX-7 comes standard with the electrothermal de-ice system called Thermex. Thermex is leading edge protection from ice accretion for the main wing and the horizontal stabilizer of the aircraft. And so think of it as pitot heat for your wing. If you're going to fly into moisture, you'll want to turn that system on, and it keeps the airplane from accumulating ice on the leading edges. The LX-7 is fully ADS-B compliant, which means we have in-cockpit weather and traffic information coming through the ADS-B system. But we also include an active traffic system, and that active traffic system is continually interrogating any transponders of aircraft nearby and giving real-time information about where those airplanes are, thus giving the pilot better information to make better decisions related to avoiding a mid-air collision. The LX-7 also comes standard with a dual electrical system. So even though we have one engine, we have two power generators, two completely independent buses, and those buses are able to support the entire aircraft electrical load independently, which means we have redundancy in the electrical system. And that dual electrical system just gives us one more level of safety for the aircraft. standard instrument panel on the LX-7 comes with two 10.6-inch Garmin G3X touch screens. And those two screens are fully interactive, very feature-rich. And then we also have an optional third display screen for the instrument panel as well that allows the pilot to put more information closer to his line of sight in the instrument panel. Each instrument panel in the LX-7 comes equipped with a GPS WAAS NavCom receiver, the GTN 750, and that enables us to operate on the RNAV and GPS approaches to give us access to the most number of airports possible with the airplane. The LX-7 instrument panel also has an XM receiver built in. So if you activate that subscription, you get in-flight weather and audio from the XM system, which gives you the ability to have in-flight entertainment, as well as very precise in-flight weather information right on your display screens. The LX-7 has a very advanced autopilot system. There are dual AHRs, so two sources of attitude information being fed to the autopilot, along with its own attitude that's derived from its own set of sensors. And that autopilot is monitoring the flight envelope of the aircraft. If something exceeds one of those flight envelope parameters, the autopilot will assume control and bring the aircraft back within the parameters that are programmed into it. So that's the envelope protection. It also has a blue level button. So should the pilot become disoriented or something happen to lose control of the aircraft, we can push that blue level button and return the aircraft back to level flight.